Hey friends, before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about our collective's newest partner. Meet Contact Monkey. Employee engagement is at the forefront of organizational strategy now more than ever. Internal comms needs to step up and be the backbone of company culture as organizations adapt to a new way of work. Contact Monkey is the ideal solution to streamline your internal communications all from within your Outlook or Gmail inbox. With Contact Monkey, you can create beautiful email newsletters using a wide range of customizable email templates. Drive employee engagement by including pulse surveys, employee net promoter score, and anonymous comments to enable a two-way conversation with your employees. And send employee emails directly from your inbox to existing distribution list. Contact Monkey does all the hard work, so you can sit back and watch your employee insights pour into your Contact Monkey dashboard in real time. To try Contact Monkey's free demo, visit www.contactmonkey.com/ICPro. I'm Sarah Jackson. Welcome to Internal Comms Pro, the podcast. This season, we're closing the gap. I've tracked down the experts that can help us as internal communicators close the gap from where we are now to where we need to be. We're connecting the dots to drive value and lead from the inside out.
We came up with our team vision, which is to enhance VMware's reputation by evolving our comms own channels to deliver the superior and consistent visitor experience.
I look at more the innovation side of things because I get really, really excited whenever we think of some big new idea that's, for us, maybe a little bit experimental, but maybe it's been tried and tested somewhere else, or maybe it even hasn't. I love just the fact that, we could take some idea that we brainstorm up in our team and then we figure out who do we need to bring in to make it happen. That's what gets me excited about my job every day.
Today's episode takes us all the way to the West Coast, to the doorstep of VMware, a global leader in cloud infrastructure and digital workspace technology. I wanted to talk to IC experts in Silicon Valley and found Anthea Pang, Director of Digital Channels and Strategy within the Global Communications team there. I also ran across Tiara Conley, VMware's Digital Channel Specialist. Anthea and Tiara are two of the most innovative women I've met on my internal comms journey. And today, we uncover elements of their formula for innovation within internal communications. Specifically, we talked about how they inspired a vision and took calculated risk to build a superior employee experience. This and much more on today's show.
Hi, my name is Anthea Pang. I am the Director of Digital Channels and Strategy within the Global Communications team here at VMware. I've been at VMware for, I just hit my 13-year mark. And during my tenure, half of that time has been with the Global Communications team. And I've been really fortunate to have multiple positions, I've held multiple positions within Global Communications. And in my current role, I've been in this position managing our channels and strategy for the last 2 years.
My name is Tiara, and I am a digital channel specialist. And so I work on Anthea's team, and I've been at VMware for just actually coming up on 2 years in a few days. It really snuck up on me. And what I do is I'm working to help make that internal comms vision come to life. So I have a focus on a few of our channels.
Okay, fantastic. So before we kind of jump in specifically to the exciting work at VMware, tell me the backstory, both of you. How did you kind of arrive in the seat that you're sitting in? Maybe have you always been in internal comms? Did you come from external comms? Give us a little bit of your backstories.
I actually come from a marketing background. I've ran marketing for an event company as well as for a FMCG company back in Asia. When I moved to the Silicon Valley about 14 years ago, and that's when I started my career in technology. Generally just have a great passion for visual experiences and marketing communications. Back from in the days where we used to value kind of ad catalogs and brochures to advertisements, videos, and web. And that really kind of just intrigued and inspired me around kind of the whole idea of building kind of superior audience experience. And I truly carried that over into my communications career at VMware. I've held multiple roles as a communicator at VMware, starting from sales communications, and I moved into employee communications and engagement and into my current role. So really kind of had a lot of time to understand, the opportunities and the pain points with internal communications. And I really kind of borrow a lot of my experiences that I've had in marketing, as well as just best practices that's happening around the industry into my position.
Nice, nice. Tiara, what's your backstory?
Sure. So when I was applying for VMware, it was actually my first job coming out of college. So I had some background from my extracurriculars and some past internships I had done in in communications for emails, and kind of how do I get people to sign up for those emails and get people to attend events and things like that. So that's really where I was led to this position, because it was really based on storytelling and how do we build this connected communication strategy around the company. So that was really interesting to me to kind of be able to use some of my past experience. Even though I wouldn't say that I had a communications background coming in, but to be able to use some of those extracurricular experiences in my current role. And so what I studied for was actually business. And in many ways, I see that coming into play with my role today, in that it's really a strategic role, working with a lot of different teams in order to make our vision for communications across the company come to life. So it's a lot of meeting with teams, setting up presentations, getting people aligned to our priorities and how that builds into the broader company goals as well. So when I first joined VMware, it was really interesting because we recognized that coming in so new and so fresh, that I needed to really explore what my talents were and where they would best fit in with what we were doing as a team. So I got to get started on our internal email platform, and that's was the core of my job at the beginning. But then I got to branch out and look at a lot of our other digital channels that we were using within our communications team. And right now, my biggest focus is actually around internal emails and how that plays into the rest of our communications, and also digital signage. Although, it's kind of hard when our campuses are not as active right now. But those are kind of my core focuses. But of course, it plays into how do we how do we promote our communications on all of our digital platforms, and how do we get more employees engaged, and kind of that work. So that's how I got started. But it's definitely been a lot of learning and a lot of exploring kind of what area is best suited for me.
During our prep call, we were talking, and you and Tiara were talking about being really excited about being involved in providing this superior audience experience. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Within the global comms team, and specifically within our group, integrated storytelling, one of the biggest opportunity that we see is the ability to define, deliver, and create a superior digital communication experience for our audiences. And we came up with our team vision, which is to enhance VMware's reputation by evolving our comms own channels to deliver the superior and consistent visitor experience. It's a broad statement, but we believe that we have the right team and we have the right infrastructure to really go pursue that vision. And I think what was really exciting for us is that we were basically kind of building a team from ground up and given the opportunity to explore what we could do to deliver this experience. So it did take us a little while to kind of look across our portfolio and define what are the challenges we have, what are the channels that we own, what are the ones that we influence, and how do we come up with a cohesive strategy that could help us kind of deliver the experience. A little easier said than done because it's looking across the platforms, the technology, the people behind the technology, the audience that we're trying to reach, the experience that we want to gather, and to unite them all so that we're kind of following the same process and procedures to get us to meeting our goals.
I love that. I think, oftentimes I talk to so many internal communicators in our tribe, and they're so underwater just doing the day to day. And this is such a key missing step that they don't have kind of sometimes the wherewithal or the means to create a vision. And I love that you said that you guys took that step to create a team vision and how you broke that down and what can breathe life into that. I love that. And I think it's a key step to closing the gap on some of these things. When you did come up with the vision with the team, did you communicate that then out externally? Like, how did you go about socializing that vision particularly to leadership?
We've been very fortunate within global communications to have peers and leaders within the team who have a digital first mindset and believes in the value of delivering, improving our digital comms experience. So that was truly kind of the first step. And with that, we spend a lot of time talking to our colleagues and our peers, and even other members within other functions, such as our marketing teams and our IT partners, to really kind of see the idea and the opportunities, and ultimately to get the partnership that we will need further down the road. And from there, we looked at it as almost as a business opportunity. Before we start the socialization process, we manage the different initiatives as it is a business proposal, being able to frame up what the objective is, what we're trying to achieve, the different use cases of this initiative. And then also, most importantly, is to be able to demonstrate the value that it will bring to communications if we were to pursue a project. And that means, coming up with key performance indicators. How do we measure our indicators? What does success looks like? And also, how do we assemble a team and put together a time frame to enable us to reach our goals. So with that, with collaboration on one side, partnership with our various team members and functions, and coming up with a business plan was how we approach our team or our agenda.
Now, I know we're discussing innovation in this episode, so I wanted to make quick mention of an innovative product from one of our sponsors. You know them, our longtime supporter, Circle. With more employees working from home, IC pros are looking for a more mobile communication solution to innovate their employee experience. With Circle Broadcast Mobile, you can push important notifications straight to your employees, no matter where they're at. With this product, you can get a secure employee mobile app up and running at the flip of a switch, which means there's no need to knock on IT's door for another integration. If you're looking for a unified cross-channel approach that simplifies your team's processes and creates a personalized employee experience, Broadcast is the solution for you. Head on over to circle.com/ICP and drive innovation at your organization. That's CERKL.com/ICP. One more real quick thing. Hey, thanks to our listeners who've taken the time to rate and review our podcast. These reviews help us iterate. It's part of the reason why we shortened this season's episode to be more bite-sized. Help our new listeners find us by leaving a rating and a review today. Now, as we wrap up, we're getting to the good part here. I pushed Anthea and Tiara a bit on the hard lessons learned while digging in the innovation trenches. And I dug up one of internal communicators' biggest fears. Now again, we'll put all their tips in our free resource guide at internalcomspro.com/show notes. Now let's jump back in. I think this is so good, Anthea, because it feels like you're the type of leader, you've got this holistic mindset, but then you break it down step by step. This is just going to be so good for our listeners because they like the high level, but they want to know, all right, how did you do it? And to list some of those things like, okay, we put together a proposal and these were the elements. It's just so key. So within that journey to do that, some of the best lessons come from, where we hit barriers or roadblocks. When you're trying to go down this road of executing this vision, what was the hard part about it? Like, gosh, if I could go back, I would have done this.
I think what came top of mind with that question is that, there's always a fear of the unknown. And I think we all kind of inhibit some of that fear, whether it's professionally or personally, and to be able to take some of a risk, because we're asking our colleagues to change the way they're working to some extent. Think about kind of having had gone through a process for a really long time and switching to a new process. That takes a bit of change management. It wasn't so much of a barrier, but it was absolutely an opportunity for us to kind of think about putting ourselves in our colleagues' shoes and figure out how do we help them through this change.
That's good. And I like this idea. I want to dive a little bit deeper into this word risk. So I think when you are trying to do bold things and innovate, a key piece, I think, is knowing when to take a calculated risk. Can you give practical tips for our listeners on, hey, when's the right time? When I should, how do I know how to take a calculated risk?
Sure, I can take a stab, and Tiara, feel free to chime in. I talk a lot about taking calculated risks, and kind of what I mean by that to the team is that with anything that we're pushing out, whether it's a new feature or introducing a new channel, or creating a new integration within our platforms. We need to anticipate potential kind of fallouts of the project. And in order to avoid that, it's being able to really kind of think ahead of potential risk areas, and figure out how we can mitigate that. And to do that, oftentimes is to really kind of double clicking into the work that we're doing, really looking at best practices that's out there, researching similar topics, find out if there's other use cases that's in the market that we can learn from, and to be able to anticipate if within VMware we open to potentially similar risks.
Tiara, what's your take on this?
Yeah, no, Anthea covered it really well. I would say from my perspective, I look at more the innovation side of things, because I get really, really excited whenever we think of some big new idea that's, for us, maybe a little bit experimental, but maybe it's been tried and tested somewhere else, or maybe it even hasn't. I love just the fact that, we could take some idea that we brainstorm up in our team, and then we figure out who do we need to bring in to make it happen. That's what gets me excited about my job every day. So while I understand that we do have to make sure that, the reward is the potential reward is greater than the risk sometimes, and that we're doing things in a very strategic, planned, and articulated way, I also think, okay, but what if this works? What do we get from this? And that is where I start to get to work. I've started to have this reputation of being the person who people can give me their craziest ideas, and no matter what, I'll figure out some way to kind of make it happen. Because to me, I feel like, we do so many things in a projected way, right? So once we have a set habit of doing things, then we like to stick to that. But I love to kind of stretch everybody a little bit and figure out, okay, what can we be doing differently? And yes, it's all about what do we see other people doing? What do we like? What do we not like? Where do we want the company to go? But then it's also sometimes let's just mix things up a little bit. Let's try something new and see if it gets a better response from our employees or from people who are reading our content externally as well. So for me, it's all about how can we try something different, be a little bit experimental, so we're scientists in a way, but then always go back and track what was the impact. Did people like it? Is it the right direction? What was the feedback that we were getting? So everything's driven off of feedback, both when we're going into making a change, because then we're looking at feedback in terms of what direction do we need to go? Is there something that we've been hearing from people constantly when they're receiving our communications that is driving our decision? So that's one way. And then afterwards, what is the feedback afterwards from the direction that we went, the action that we took? So to me, it's that kind of science to it, where it's let's build this lab and try something new.
Anthea, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I would just say that, ultimately it's to ensure that we are delivering business value and delivering value that maps to our goals and our priorities, and importantly also the culture at VMware. I think kind of being at VMware for so many years, just understanding the way people work, and when to push buttons versus when to kind of take a step back. I think those are kind of like little things that we need to be aware of within the environment that we're working with. So and also just meeting where people are, so that we're not, it doesn't come across that we're forcing anybody to make a change, but being able to demonstrate the value of making a change.
That seems like that's the key. Well, I love the energy and the passion that I'm hearing through both of your voices on that. I want to go back to Tiara real quick. You say you push people, and it feels like you're into sort of disruption of some sort. That we get geeked out about talking about all the latest greatest. How do you stay up on what's, a lot of our listeners are constantly asking, hey, what's coming? What's the latest trends? How do with you being new in this role, how do you stay up on all the latest greatest stuff? I mean, I view folks in Silicon Valley have some sort of secret sauce to knowing what's coming.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I think what I had exposure to at the very beginning when I started was a lot of conferences. I mean, being in Silicon Valley, especially close to San Francisco, it seemed like every couple of months or so, I'd be able to go to a new conference. And of course, with it being so close, it was really easy to visit them. So I feel like conferences was one of the best places that I learned about new trends, because not only did I get to learn from the speakers, but I also got to learn from the other attendees. So it was this inside knowledge that, it wasn't posted anywhere online. It was really coming from people's individual experiences at their own companies. And we would get in little groups and be able to share those learnings amongst each other. And then, when you go and you sign up for all these little email lists and everything, so I start getting these email notifications all the time about, oh, did you hear about this new thing that's trending? So some people do opt out of those. I think it's always good to stay tapped into some of those email subscriptions that you become a part of if they're actually providing you a lot of value, as I find that some of them do. Because that's one of the ways that you can find out about new products that are launching, new trends, new technology, and it's a pretty easy way. No effort on our part, right? If we want to click in, we can. If we don't want to, we don't have to. So that's one of the biggest ways is conferences. And then outside of that, I often do my own research as well. So I'll look on a lot of search platforms about whatever project that I'm about to start and try to get some inspiration from other companies, whether they're in the same industry or in adjacent industries. And that gives me a lot of inspiration at the end of the day, just to kind of see how other people are doing it. Of course, we don't want to copy anyone word for word, but we do want to, compile all of that information that we have and then be able to kind of take our own VMware spin on it.
Okay, next week, our conversation continues with these two innovators. Now, you're going to want to listen in because we're going to discuss some blind spots you could run into while inspiring a vision, especially when pushing through a new tool or a change. Anthea and Tiara tell us how they sustained their team's excitement and kept everyone moving forward. And yes, of course, that episode will have another resource guide too that you can download at internalcommspro.com/show notes. Stay with us as our journey to closing the gap continues next week.
Internal Comms Pro podcast is produced by Super Awesome Media. Our theme music is Big Vision by Purple Planet Music. Don't forget to visit www.internalcommspro.com/show notes for our free resource guides. Thank you for listening.